Hey everybody, guess what time it is? It's time to read The Sword of Allah. Alright, so we're on page 20 and it's going into the Battle of Uhud. We've dug into this quite a bit on the Sealed Nectar, but I bet you this will have new facts and information for us, which will make it super interesting. So let's go on in. Everybody in Mecca rejoiced at the arrival of the caravan from Palestine. The caravan had been in grave danger during the few days it moved along the coastal road near Medina, and very nearly fell into the hands of the Muslims. It was only the skill and leadership of Abu Sufyan, who led the caravan, that saved it from capture. The caravan consisted of 1,000 camels and had taken goods worth 50,000 dinars, on which Abu Sufyan had made a cent per cent profit. Since every family of note in Mecca had invested in this caravan, its return with so much profit was a matter of jubilation for all Mecca. And it was spring in Arabia, the month of March, 624. 1,000 camels, man. I've never even seen 1,000 camels in a group. That's amazing. Even as the people of Mecca sang and danced, and the merchants rubbed their hands while awaiting their share of the profit, the battered and broken army of the Quraysh picked its weary way towards Mecca. This army had rushed out in response to Abu Sufyan's call for help, when he had first realized the danger from the Muslims. Before the Quraysh army could come into action, however, Abu Sufyan had extricated the caravan and sent word to the Quraysh to return to Mecca as the danger had passed. But Abu Jahl, that's the evil dude, who commanded the army, would have none of this. He had spent the past 15 years of his life in bitter opposition to the Prophet, and he was not going to let this opportunity slip away. Instead of returning, he had precipitated a battle with the Muslims. Now this proud army was returning home in a state of shock and humiliation. While the Quraysh army was still on its way, a messenger from it sped to Mecca on a fast camel. As he entered the outskirts of the town, he tore his shirt and wailed aloud, announcing tragedy. That's weird. Why are you gonna tear your shirt? Oh. If somebody tore their shirt to tell me a message, I'd be like, that dude's on crack. I don't know. Why are you tearing your shirt? See, like, we have a story of Paul Revere, who was on his horseback saying, the British are coming, right? It's a little weird that you're going to tear your clothes. The people of Mecca hastily gathered around him to seek the news of the battle. They would ask about dear ones, and he would tell of their fate. Among those present were Abu Sufyan and his wife Hind. Oh, that's the name of his wife? From this messenger, Hind heard of the loss of her dear ones, of the death of her father Utbah. Her dad died at the hands of Ali and Hamza, uncle of the Prophet. Wait a minute, isn't that the lady who... Is she the one who ate Hamza's liver? Of the death of her uncle Shayba at the hands of Hamza. Of the death of her brother Waleed at the hands of Ali. Of the death of her son Hanzala at the hands of Ali. She cursed Hamza and Ali and swore vengeance. So her dad, her uncle, her brother, her son. It's a lot of dead family members. The Battle of Badr was the first major clash between the Muslims and their enemies. I remember that. A small force of 313 Muslims had stood like a rock against the onslaught of 1,000 infidels. After an hour or two of severe fighting, the Muslims had shattered the Quraysh army, and the Quraysh had fled in disorder from the battlefield. The finest of the Quraysh had fallen in battle or been taken prisoner. Again, I know I mentioned this last time, but it reminds me a lot of the 300 Spartans. A total of 70 infidels had been killed and another 70 captured by the Muslims, at a cost of only 14 Muslim dead. Among those killed were 70 members of the Bani Makhzum, most of them either cousins or nephews of Khalid. Abu Jahl had been killed. Khalid's brother, Waleed, had been taken prisoner. As the messenger announced the names of those who had fallen and those who had killed them, the Quraysh noted the frequency with which the names of Ali and Hamza were repeated. That's quite interesting. Imagine you're the Quraysh and you're hearing like so and so was killed by so and so, and then they're like Ali and Hamza, like you hear the names. It makes quite an impression. I know it would make an impression on me if I heard that type of killer, man. I'd be like, whoa. Ali had killed 18 men by himself and shared in the killing of 4 others. Hamza had killed 4 men and shared with Ali in the killing of another 4. The name of Ali thus dominated the proceedings of this sad assembly. Is that why so many people name themselves Ali? I knew one person named that. Never talked to him, but he was on campus. 2 days later, Abu Sufyan held a conference of all the leaders of the Quraysh. There was not one amongst them who had not lost a dear one at Badr. Some had lost fathers, some sons, some brothers. The most vociferous at the conference were Sufwan bin Umayyah and Ikrama, son of Abu Jahl. Oh, that's this son's name? I'm gonna write that down. Ikrama is the son of Abu Jahl. Ikrama was the most difficult to restrain. Well, yeah, his dad died. His father had the distinction of commanding the Quraysh army at Badr and had fallen in battle. The son drew some comfort from the fact that his father had killed a Muslim at Badr, and that he himself had killed another. Moreover, he had attacked and severed the arm of the Muslim who had mortally wounded his father. Oh, whoa. But that was not enough to quench his thirst for revenge. He insisted that as noble Quraysh, they were honor bound to take revenge. And there's a quote here. "And I have lost my son Hanzala," said Abu Sufyan. "My thirst for revenge is no less than yours. I shall be the first to prepare and launch a powerful expedition against Muhammad." At this conference they all took the pledge of revenge. This time none would stay back. An expedition would be prepared such as had never assembled at Mecca before, and other local tribes would have invited to join the expedition and take part in the annihilation of the Muslims. So this is really cool how the author wrote this, because they really set the stage for you, right? Really making it clear the pain that's being passed around and how that fuels the revenge, right? The entire profit from the caravan, amounting to 50,000 dinars, would be spent on financing the expedition. Abu Sufyan was unanimously elected as the commander of the Quraysh army. Abu Sufyan now gave 2 decisions, the first which was more or less universally accepted. This was the effect that there should be no weeping and no mourning of any kind for those who had fallen at Badr. Interesting, so don't show weakness, maybe to keep their emotions in check, right? Keep their brains on the mission. The idea behind this order was that tears would wash away the bitterness in the hearts. Yeah, I can see that. And that this bitterness should be kept alive until they had taken their revenge against the Muslims. That's one idea, right? That's one idea. However, let me put it this way. Me personally, I don't know about you, but for me personally, if I cry, it's hard to get me to cry. But if somebody killed someone and I cry, that's actually going to make me more angry, right? Anger tears or like vicious tears. I don't know if you've ever felt like that. You ever see someone get so mad they start crying? Like they start just swinging, punching, and just you know? But then again, there's like a where you're like, it sucks the soul out of you and you're like totally weak. I can see those 2 types of crying, but I can get where they're coming from. What do you think? What would you do? Would you tell your soldiers cry or don't cry? What would you say to kind of motivate them to keep that spiteful spirit going? However, those whose burden of sorrow was too heavy to carry wept secretly. Yeah, you can't. Yeah, exactly. The second decision related to the prisoners who were in Muslim hands. Abu Sufyan forbade all efforts to get them released, for fear that these efforts were made immediately, the Muslims might put up the price. This decision, however, was not followed by everyone. Within 2 days, a man left Mecca secretly at night to ransom his father, and when others came to know about this, they took the matter into their own hands and got their dear ones released. Abu Sufyan had no choice but to revoke his decision. The rate of ransom varied. The top rate was 4,000 dirhams, and there was a graduated scale down to 1,000 dirhams for those who could not afford to pay more. That's considerate. Come on. That's interesting. It's like, how much can you pay? Like, I can't pay 4,000. Okay, give me 1,000. You know? A few prisoners who were too poor to pay but were literate earned their freedom by teaching a certain number of Muslim children to read and write. Oh, I saw that in the message. Hamza says he said that in the movie. Some destitute ones were released by the Prophet without ransom on condition that they would never again take up arms against the Muslims. That's quite gracious. Risky, but gracious. Among those who went to negotiate the release of the prisoners were Ikrama, Khalid, who had missed the Battle of Badr on account of his absence from the Hijaz, and Khalid's brother Hisham. Khalid and Hisham arranged the release of their brother Waleed. Okay, so we have Khalid, and then we have Hisham, and then Waleed. When Hisham heard that the ransom would be 4,000 dirhams, he began to haggle for a lower sum, but was rebuked by Khalid. The sum of 4,000 dirhams was duly paid for the release of Waleed, whereafter the three brothers left Medina and camped for the night at a place called Zul Khalifa, a few miles away. Here, during the night, Waleed slipped away from the camp, returned to Medina, reported to the Prophet, and became a Muslim. Hey, look at that. Look at that. He thereafter proved a devout Muslim and became very dear to the Prophet. And in spite of his new faith, his relations with Khalid remain as warm and loving as ever. Isn't that cool? So he gets, they get their brother. Everybody's all together again. You would think all three would unite, right? But they didn't. They say, hey, I'm going to become a Muslim. Well, at the Quraysh conference, the main theme of the discussion had been revenge. Another factor which drove the Quraysh to war with the Muslims was economic survival. The main route of the Quraysh caravan to Syria and Palestine lay along the coastal road, which now, after the Battle of Badr, was no longer open to them. In November, Sufwan bin Umayyah felt the need for more trade and dispatched a caravan towards Syria on another route which he thought might be safe. This caravan left Mecca on the road to Iraq and, after traveling some distance, turned northwest towards Syria, bypassing Medina at what Sufyan considered a safe distance. This is interesting. Look at that. Iraq, Syria, Mecca, Medina. Reading these kind of books kind of really solidifies the geography, right? But the Holy Prophet came to know of this caravan and sent Zayd bin Harisa with 100 men to capture it, which Zayd did. Oh, dispatched them, huh? Sufwan then went to Abu Sufyan, and both leaders agreed that since the economic well-being and prosperity of the Quraysh depended on their profitable trade with Syria, the sooner the Muslims were crushed, the better. Ikrama also was impatient and pressed for speed. Abu Sufyan, however, as wise old chief, knew that it would take time to prepare an expedition and purchase the camels, the horses, and the weapons. He promised to hit his best. Well, fantastic. That's a cool story about the three brothers, man. Abu Sufyan.